when I was planning for this episode, I was explaining to Nico that we were going to talk about FOMO and then how it like translates to JOMO or SOMO. And he was like, oh, Fogo de Chao. Hello, clowns.
I'm Ami.
I'm Yu Chen, and we're the hosts of Clown Vibes Podcast.
We're two best friends who get together to laugh and discuss a variety of topics.
From all things pop culture to navigating through adulthood as Asian Americans and more, with our own clown spin, of course.
We're so glad to have you here to clown around with us, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, clowns. I want to start this episode off with a public apology for the number of times that I said, okay, so in any of our recordings.
I too said it a million times, and that's part of the reason we're doing this podcast. We're going to get better at it and have fun with it.
Do our parents who learned English as a second language use transition or filler words?
That's a good question, and I guess we have to observe next time. I've never noticed one way or the other.
I don't know what the filler word for like and so in Chinese is.
Actually, same for Gujarati. Like, I said it again. Yeah, I can't think of what it would be.
This theory has to be tested by us having a long and lengthy conversation with our parents, which is a really risky experiment. So I don't know if we're ever going to find the answer to this question. All right, what have you been up to this week?
I started a sewing class. I'm really leaning into crafting as a hobby lately. Doing the sewing class, super into embroidery right now. I've just bought a bunch of watercolor journals to hopefully start watercoloring more.
I remember when you signed up for your watercoloring class last year, and that was like very clownish of you because every class you would complain about going.
Every class, I was like, I just can't listen to this lady drone on for 3 hours. The times where we actually painted, I enjoyed it. When we were working on our project, I enjoyed it. But of the 3 hours, she straight up would talk for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we would paint for the remaining time.
I don't know if it's because I haven't lived in Texas for a very long time, but something about Texans, they just talk so slowly.
So, yeah.
I have a clown of the week.
Okay.
I want to give my clown of the week to the US government. And they're always clowns.
Always. They're
Always.
De facto clown of the week.
And there's so many examples, but this one example was from the Ticketmaster Live Nation hearing. I don't know if you saw any of the videos of it.
Yes.
But it's just like, okay, the Democrats and the Republicans can never agree on anything, but they can agree on this one thing. On top of that, the Senate all agreed to quote Taylor Swift during the hearing. And I'm just like, this required like a lot of coordination. And the amount of time that you guys spent coordinating this and discussing this, you could have done like with other real topics in the world, but yet you choose to do this.
You just know that the staffers who wrote their spiel were older millennials because it was so cringy how they used the lyrics. It was not cool. They were trying so hard to be hip, too hard. Just say what you need to say and let's be done. Move on to student debt, something that's helping people. That's not quoting Taylor Swift lyrics. We all know them. You don't need to tell us.
Our main topic for this week is FOMO, which I think we all, but especially us, have a lot of experience with. And I just wanted to start the conversation with a little bit of a definition and ground setting for what FOMO means. So everyone knows what FOMO means, but let me just read to you what I found on Urban Dictionary. So FOMO stands for fear of missing out, and it's a state of mental or emotional strain caused by the fear of missing out. In evolutionary biology, it's an omnipresent anxiety brought on by our cognitive ability to recognize potential opportunities. As a form of social anxiety, it's a compulsive concern that one might miss an opportunity or satisfying event, often aroused by posts seen on social media websites. I think this definition is very interesting due to a couple of like key phrases that
Mm-hmm.
they kind of outline. I don't know if you picked up on this as well, but within evolutionary biology, it's all that I'm interpreting it as like it's built in to the way that humans are made. Like we're
Yeah.
societal creatures because it's almost as if like humans, because we crave relationships, we're not meant to be like solo creatures. FOMO is almost inherent in our society. Did you get that same understanding?
Yeah. And I think like obviously it's always been there. And recently, because of the rise of social media, we've given it a term.
So the reason why we brought up FOMO is out for this year.
This is our unofficial in and out list, and FOMO's out.
I think FOMO's out for everybody. Everyone's
Yeah.
tired of FOMO, but we want to make a public declaration that we should replace FOMO with either JOMO or SOMO.
And JOMO is joy of missing out, and SOMO is satisfaction of missing out. And the reason we can't choose one is because they're pretty different, right? Like joy of missing out is really
like you're actually
sounds
excited.
Yeah. And that's a big leap from being okay with missing out to feeling happy you are. And I think probably more introverted people do experience JOMO more often, but I think we're both a little bit more extroverted.
No.
Well, you're not really.
Yeah, I think you are actually more extroverted than I am, if we're being like technical. I want to actually backtrack. How did we come up with this idea of this like
I think
topic?
you texted me, "Pomo is in," and I was like, "What's Pomo?"
Oh, someone, yes, I saw this TikTok where I get all my.
Oh, sorry. And FOMO is pleasure of
pleasure.
But we don't like the word pleasure. That's weird.
We're immature and we can't say the word pleasure without giggling. So pleasure's out. SOMO stands for satisfaction of missing out. And I think I relate to this a little bit more. I want to claim the SOMO energy for 2023. My interpretation of this is I feel content on missing out on certain events. And it also means like I'm releasing certain feelings of pressure to say yes to every single activity that I'm invited to, or even like I'm making less plans because I'm not feeling the pressure of having something to do.
Yeah, I think I also am leaning towards SOMO because I don't know in any near future if I'll ever reach JOMO, but satisfaction of missing out to me is a little bit easier to achieve and something I have been working towards for over a year now because I definitely have a lot of internal pressure to always be doing something where I don't even know really where it's coming from still.
When did you start recognizing your own FOMO?
I think for me, it was when I moved to Dallas. I think in college, I always had something going on. And then when I moved to Houston, I was like, oh, I'm so busy with work. I'm too tired. I never cared. Then it was like COVID during quarantine, and I was so happy watching TV at home.
Oh my gosh. COVID was peak JOMO. I was actually in JOMO.
So true. So true. That was my peak JOMO. I would stay up so late and watch Smash actors sing Broadway songs on YouTube. That's how just ridiculous things I was doing that I loved so much.
I think COVID gave everyone the excuse that they needed to reset themselves socially. I think I remember that I was like excessively sick all the time before COVID happened. I was going out constantly, even when I had like a cold, and then commuting to work. It just created a lot of like unhealthy habits. But when COVID happened, it really allowed me to sleep and actually just do little silly, I don't even know. What did I even do during COVID? But I was
Which,
in my peak JOMO mode.
yeah, I actually can't remember what I used to do and like how I used to pass the day, but I had no trouble.
No
I
trouble.
don't really feel like I was that bored ever. I painted, did so many paint by numbers. I rewatched so many shows I love. I was having a blast.
Yes. And I don't think I'll ever get to JOMO the way that COVID
Yeah,
brought out JOMO for
no
me.
way.
So now we're on to SOMO.
Yeah, because even when quote unquote COVID was like getting better, I was still living at home. So I was still in my JOMO phase because I had not left that space yet. And so when
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Dallas, I was like, okay, I moved out, need to create a life again. And there was like this urgency to make up
Yes.
for not doing anything the last 2+ years.
Weren't we 25 when COVID happened? I
Yeah,
think
just
25
turned.
is a very like important time of your 20s. And the fact that we had it during COVID, I think really messed up the way we were thinking of our 20s.
Yeah,
And when we got out of COVID, we were really trying to make up for what was supposed to happen when we were 25. And we were trying to compress that all in together into like 27,
yeah,
which was really stressful and unrealistic, to be honest.
super unrealistic. We put so much pressure on ourselves that was unnecessary.
Okay, I have to pause and say
Okay.
that when I was planning for this episode, I was explaining to Nico that we were going to talk about FOMO and then how it like translates to JOMO or SOMO. And he was like, oh, Fogo de Chao. And now I just like can't get it out of my head. So whether you choose FOMO, JOMO, SOMO, or Fogo de Chao, the world is your oyster, and you may choose whatever form of FOMO you'd like to embrace for this year.
Definitely. That's how you know he's like so not on the internet.
No, that's how you know he just doesn't listen to what I'm saying because he's
Okay,
like,
also
Fogo de Chao.
that. What's like your biggest clown FOMO story?
I don't think I have one that's just like, such a clown. I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest like clown moments in college is when everyone became obsessed with going to the football games. And when you go to UT, it is like such a like
Thing.
event. You
Yeah.
dress up, you pregame, you go to the tailgates, you go with your friends, and you get drunk food afterwards. Very important to Texas culture, like UT culture. But I just think it's so clownish that me, and I'm sure like a lot of people actually convinced themselves that they were interested in football. You would go to these games and they would last like hours in the like really
So
intense
hot.
Texas heat. And I just had to pretend like I actually enjoyed football, which I do not. But I
Definitely.
just remember so vividly. I think I archived this post. But it was just like a picture of me with like a UT Longhorn tattoo on my cheek, and I was like getting ready for the game. And I wrote some like cheesy caption. I don't even think I made it to the game. I think this goes back to how important social media has contributed to
Yeah.
FOMO because I felt like I had to show people that I was really interested in football because I went to UT when Oh, and this was also to my like 100 followers at the time who also did not care about UT
All of your
football.
high school friends.
Yes.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think like sophomore or junior year, I just stopped pretending because I would go to the game, hate it the whole time, be like, I don't really know why they keep throwing 70 flags on the field.
I
And
still
I'm
don't
tired of
know how
standing.
football works. I still to this day do not know. I think my entire time, my entire 3 years in New York was just very peak FOMO for me as well. As for a lot of people, and I don't think it's talked about enough in New York,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like when you are first moving to New York in your 20s, there is a specific lifestyle that everyone is aspiring to. And I just want to pose a question. Do we all like going out? Actually, when I was in my like
Sometimes.
early mid 20s, yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But it got so exhausting and so repetitive. And just going back to our in and out list, I think drinking alcohol is on the out.
I
I
agree.
saw someone talk about this on TikTok earlier. I think there was an article that was also out. There's just so many people that are embracing non-alcoholic beverages too. And I don't think the concept of like drinking is out. I think the concept of like excessive drinking or excessive partying that is just really out for 2023. But
Yeah.
is that just us in our millennial mode, or are the Gen Zers embracing this? Are we just living in a bubble right now? I'm not sure, but I'm gonna proclaim drinking alcohol a lot is out right now.
I think it's out for people around our age. I don't think it is out for younger people, nor should it be. I think it's a very fun kind of experience to have.
A lot of clown
I will
moments.
say I did go out last weekend. Like we went to a club, whatever, and I did not have that many drinks. I was at a very stable tipsy level, maybe a
Hmm.
little bit more than tipsy, and had a great time. I think I had a better time than I would have had I had the amount of drinks I would have had a year ago.
Hmm. And I think we're just also over being hungover. I just can't recover as
Totally.
fast as I used to. I'm
I
starting
have the
to
world's
think.
worst hangovers.
Yeah, I used to think that, alcohol is really important in having a good, fun night out when you're going out. And I think to some degree, I do need to be a little bit tipsy to
Mm-hmm.
even like process what is going on around me at some of these bars and clubs because it is nasty. It's just clownish
Yeah,
out there, nasty and
it's clownish
clownish.
out there.
But I think
Yeah,
even more so, it's who you're around when you're out
definitely.
that makes the night rather than the alcohol itself.
Totally. It's who's around and what music they're playing. Like if I'm going out, I want you to play some bops that I can sing and jump and dance to.
If they
And if you're
play
not,
house
I'm leaving.
music, I'm out.
No.
I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but, and this might be very clownish of me, but I love going out to Pitbull. I love pre-gaming to Pitbull. I love dancing
Yes.
to, I think he just makes some fun bops
Such
to
funny bops.
dance to.
Yeah, totally.
That is peak Jomo, actually. Peak
That's
Jomo.
peak Jomo.
Do you have any clown moments that you remember?
I don't know if this is full clown. When I moved and I was aggressively trying to make new friends, I joined a Gaelic team,
It
which
is it is
for
a clown
those,
moment.
yeah, for those who don't know, Gaelic football is a combo of pretty much every sport imaginable, like handball, some basketball, it's really soccer like. While it is very fun, it's honestly such a clown thing that I did. First of all, there are no other Asian people on this team. It's me.
I do think this is clown moment for you because you only went to maybe three practices. I think I
That's
can
true.
probably count the number of times you went to practice on one hand. And you would
No,
complain
two
about it.
hands
Two hands?
every time.
Whoa.
I would have debilitating anxiety on my drive there because I would be like, okay, are they going to remember who I am? Of course, they're going to remember who I am. I'm the only brown person there. But regardless of that, it's like, okay, these people all know each other pretty well. They've played together for years. Like, don't I'm learning this sport. Every time I had anxiety, every time after I was like, this was so fun. I can't believe I had anxiety. Rinse and repeat the next time. I
I
never remembered that it was fun.
I actually just like thinking back, I think I had a clown FOMO moment. I don't know if this is FOMO. Maybe you tell me. But there have been moments where I am actually coordinating a social event and then I speak it into existence. I tell people and then I don't want to go.
Yes, and I have done that, but then I slowly fade away.
Yes, but then people call me out on it. I messaged some friends. I was like, I want to go to this comedy show. And they're like, yeah, when? And I just never respond. All right, back to your gala story. With your new word for neutrality for 2023, how are you approaching this gala situation? Are you still going to join the team?
So I think that I'm definitely going to do it again, but I'm not going to go in with the mindset of I need this to be like such a big part of my life. I need to do this for X reason. I'm going to do it because I think it's fun. And when it stops being fun and when it stops being something that I do end up enjoying, I will stop going.
Yeah, I think at the crux of the whole FOMO, SOMO, JOMO, FOGO de Child debate, it's just a mind shift change. And that takes a lot of practice.
Definitely.
I want to bring something up that may be a little bit relevant to some people and may not, but I have crippling anxiety when it comes to not crippling anxiety because I've gotten so much better at this, but I know a lot of people get anxiety over New Year's Eve and what may be more relevant to right now, which is the upcoming Valentine's Day. And
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I think these two holidays are just very, very, very overrated. Valentine's Day is just purely a holiday fueled by capitalism. New Year's, I get we are trying to like celebrate and ring in the New Year's, but it has just become such like a blown up situation surrounded by like partying, drinking, what you're gonna wear, who you're
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with to ring in the New Year's. I've never been into it, partially because I can't stay up past midnight these days. I'm like in bed by 9. I know a lot of people who put a lot of pressure on themselves to have plans for New Year's Eve, and I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of it comes out of just FOMO.
Totally. And they'll like, oh, I need to do something so that other people don't perceive me as being quote unquote lame or think that I am boring because I don't have plans.
I really have a stink eye for people who actively ask people about their plans or like what they're doing in a very judgy way. There are people who are
That's
actually just
true.
very curious, but you know, there are judgy about certain plans. And I think we all just need to be a little bit more mindful of how we approach that question.
Definitely.
And I'm even more conscious of like posting on social media. Like, even if I do have plans, sometimes I don't post because I feel
Yeah.
like social media has just really blown up into something. It hasn't been like this in the past year or two post COVID, but I think pre COVID, it just became such a thing to always post about what you're doing. And I think that really contributed to FOMO a lot.
Oh, for sure. I think the summer Instagram break I took last year really decreased my need or want to post. Now I pretty much only post when I go on vacation, and it's only so that I can look at the pictures later in a
Exactly.
succinct way. On the topic of underrated holidays, we actually spent our New Year's driving to Big Bend National Park in West Texas. And because we left at the crack of dawn, aka 7 a.m., because I don't believe time exists before that, on New Year's Day, we tried to go to sleep at 10:30 p.m.
Oh
on
my gosh. But
December
remember,
31st
we had
and
the
could not
most
fall asleep.
ass sleep ever. Because while we were trying to practice SOMO, someone else was throwing like the biggest party of their lives next door. And I was completely unhinged while trying to sleep.
My the neighborhood my parents live in is crazy. They're all obsessed with fireworks. At any occasion, they're buying those huge fireworks that people do for Disney and
And
for shows. But anyways, so we went to sleep very early and drove to Big Bend for New Year's to have a very zen start to the year.
I thought it was a really good start to the new year. And I think like being from a bigger city, I think both Dallas and SF are big cities. I think it's really important to kind of step out and be with nature a little bit more. I think when you are feeling a little bit socially overwhelmed, maybe with FOMO, maybe with other anxieties, nature really heals. And this is my first
Yeah,
time at a national park, and I think I will definitely participate again just because of how physically and mentally challenging it was.
yeah, it's a really rewarding experience. It definitely pushes you to reach new limits when you're with your brother who is forcing you to do 13-mile hikes
Yeah.
at his
Okay.
pace of
So
a
who did
tall,
we
tall
go with?
person.
Who did we go with?
So on our trip, it was me, Yuch, and Keishan, who is my brother. He is a huge outdoorsy person.
He's only a
Yeah.
few years apart from us, so age wasn't really an issue. We all had like similar interests. And this was my first time also traveling with you guys. And I'm just gonna say this now. It's gonna be the last. It was the last. It's not happening again. And I don't know if it's
Wow.
because I'm not used to having such a sibling close to my age, but I'm just like, this whole thing, I I felt uncomfy at that time.
Really? Okay, I actually left that vacation thinking this is a pretty decent vacation for me and Keishan.
I think it's because I'm not used to it. I remember
Yeah.
the third day texting PP and being like, yeah, this is not happening.
Was the third day when he refused to get up and make breakfast?
Well, I was texting this when he left us to
Oh yeah. That was a very dick move. No, we basically weren't hiking to his pace because we were just trying to chill.
and
We had nothing else
where
to
were we
do.
hiking to? It's all about the journey, not the
It's all we were
destination.
just yeah, and he was like, you guys are going to take too long coming down, like I'm going to take the car and go to the lodge or something. And I wouldn't give him the keys until he promised that he wasn't going to do that. And lo and behold, we get down and he's gone without a text, without telling us what's going on. I called him 10 times. I called my mom.
Okay, but do you think
As
this
my
is like
mom could do
such
anything.
a boy thing to
It's such a
do,
boy
to be
thing.
inconsiderate? I'm just
Yeah,
spitting facts right now, honestly.
no, totally. Things would have been monumentally better had he just texted us. He had to use the bathroom, so he had to go. Had he texted us, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. I will be back immediately. Like, I really have to go.
Yeah.
We would have been like, cool. Like, we would
Yeah.
not have cared. It's the leaving us without us knowing, not picking up the phone, the no communication.
I also think like such a clown moment. I will say you're very dramatic. You're way more dramatic than I am. Spitting facts here. But
Totally.
I remember when you were just like yelling at him and you were like, we were out here for 15 minutes. And he was like, actually, no, because I took a picture of the car when I left, and that was only 10 minutes ago. And it was just flat silence. And I was just in the back seat going, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He knows me so well that he knows I was going to do something dumb, like be like, we've been here for 30 minutes.
There were
That
actually a
what?
lot of clown moments from the trip, but I will say if you're looking to practice FOMO, go on a nature hike, get back out there into good old nature. I challenge you to do it without listening to music and just be
Yeah.
with your thoughts because your thoughts are scary. Remember when we did, what was it, a 12-hour hike on the second day
A 12
with,
mile, 12 mile. We did
oh,
not hike 12 hours.
oh my gosh,
It was like
what? It
13
felt like
miles.
12 hours.
It did feel like a long time.
Do it without music and you will want to yourself.
I surprisingly had no trouble being without music because I think I was really just thinking like, all right, I'm climbing this mountain. Oh, it looks really cool. The weather is cold. I'm blowing my nose so much.
I'm
Like
blowing my nose so much.
I constantly was like, where is a tissue? To where I was actually okay, surprisingly, for the whole hike.
I think my brain was just filled with thoughts of keeping myself going because I was
Mm,
just like, can't stop blowing my nose. I'm cold. My butt hurts. I have to climb uphill again. My feet hurt. And I was just trying to keep myself going mentally and physically.
yeah, definitely. It was very hard. Okay, as a recap to what we did on our trip, we were there for 4 nights, 5 days. 2 of the days were just driving, so we had 3 full days in the park. We did the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive the first day with the Santa Elena Canyon. The second day we spent in the Chichos Mountain Basin.
That
I
was the
think I said
coolest
that right.
part. That
Yeah, that was
basin
definitely the
area
coolest part.
is just, if you had only like 1 or 2 days, I would just spend most of your time there. It was very cool.
Definitely. And that day we did the South Rim hike, which was really cool. That was the 12, I think it's 12.4 mile hike. And then you can add on 3 miles, I want to say, for Emery Peak, which we didn't do that, but my brother added it on. And the third day, we went to the Rio Grande Valley area, went to the different canyon that's on that side, and then came back to the mountains to do one last 4 to 5-ish mile hike.
It's not as popular of a national park because of where it's located. It's located around the borders of West Texas and Mexico, which makes it very, very cool. You can take a trip to Mexico, like bring your passport if you want to.
Yeah.
But the downside is it's just a very long drive to get there. Even from the nearest airport, I think it's you fly into
4 hours.
El Paso. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
All that's to say is we had a great time at Big Bend. It was the perfect start to the new year and also helped us practice moving away from FOMO, which is out, and embracing SOMO for 2023.
Thanks so much for listening. You can follow us on Insta at Clown Vibes Podcast or email us at clownvibespodcast@gmail.com.
If you like our show and want to support us, please like, subscribe, and give us a review. That's it for today. Bye, clowns.
Bye, clowns.